It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're wrapping up October 1994, looking at October 28th. And we've got 6 movies to look at today, so let's just jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Roland Emmerich's follow-up to Universal Soldier with Kurt Russell and James Spader. This is Stargate. Yeah, Stargate's probably one of the better examples of trying to make a new sci-fi classic and having some ideas that look incredible, sound amazing, and the overall finished product doesn't end up being anywhere near as good as what the intentions were. I mean, we see these so many times. This is probably one of the best examples of it because the idea for this is so cool. You got these soldiers going into this wormhole, and they find themselves being transported to this mysterious planet and all that, and you think you're going to see something very interesting with it. I mean, it starts off with this cool-looking image of these soldiers going into the wormhole, which, honestly, after all these years, still kind of holds up, but once you get to the actual planet and once you actually get to this world that they build, it's not really all that investing or exciting whatsoever. This is the quintessential Roland Emmerich. I really don't like Roland Emmerich as a director. I really try my best to try to like his movies, but I don't know. Every single time he makes one of these movies, he's got to add like another layer to it that just seems really unnecessary to it. I mean, just be a sci-fi movie. I mean, we're gonna be talking about a lot of his movies going forward, since this is one of the ones that kind of started his upward trend as a filmmaker. Because of course, the next film he would do after this was Independence Day, and that movie has some problems of its own. But we'll get to those ones when we get to that one. But I mean, yeah, this movie isn't really all that exciting. The movie has a good idea to it. It kind of wastes a pretty good cast. Like I said, Kurt Russell, James Spader. You have Jay Davidson from The Crying Game in here. And, I mean, there's potential here. It has a good idea, but just the wrong execution. I think visually it looks very nice, but everything else is kind of like the special effects can be very dated at times. The story is very lackluster and clunky. So are the characters. They're not really all that inventive or exciting. They're just kind of stock characters, and the thing that it ends up leading to in the end really doesn't work in the end. Like it really serves no purpose when it's all said and done. It's just like, this is really what you were setting us up for? And I'm not going to say what it is, but it's just weird. It's just a weird film. It's one of those examples of it's what I said before. It's an example of a sci-fi film that has a lot of potential to it, has a really good idea to it, but just bad execution all around. It's a film that really does not work, and it certainly, for the most part, does not hold up well over time. And yeah, this was not a very good film at all. So unfortunately, that's a pass on Stargate. So with that said, let's move on to the next movie, and that is the star-studded comedy The Road to Wellville.
Mr. Kate, Mr. Lightbody.
Doing what? The Wellville Health Resort. A place for healing.
Just relax, Mr. Lightbody.
For cleansing.
I like to look at the new ladies.
And most of all, sex.
I hardly recognize you with your clothes on.
Anthony Hopkins, Bridget Fonda, Matthew Broderick, John Cusack, and Dana Carvey in an Alan Parker film, The Road to Wellville.
Again, kind of like Stargate, a movie that has a lot of good ideas to it, but just real bad execution and not a whole lot of good characters to go with it. I mean, you got a really solid cast here. Anthony Hopkins, Matthew Broderick, Bridget Fonda, Joan Cusack, Dana Carvey, Cole Meany, Michael Lerner's also in here. A really good cast overall. A real fun idea. You could really take a satirical concept to this, especially with Anthony Hopkins' performance in this, but it just comes off as really, really goofy, but at the same time, it doesn't really know what kind of a movie it wants to be. Does it want to be a straightforward screwball comedy? Does it want to be more like a serious drama? And that little teaser, that little TV spot there doesn't really tell you much, but the movie itself really has no idea what kind of a movie it wants to be. Does it want to be a straight-up screwball comedy? Does it want to be something that wants to be taken more seriously? Do they want to be more satirical about it? I mean, there's just nothing really there to really make you understand what they're going for here. Like, what's the end result of this supposed to be? And it would help if the jokes were funnier too, but they're not really. Dana Carvey's performance in this just really isn't all that good, and most of the performances in here are not really all that good. And this is Alan Parker. Alan Parker's made some great movies in the past. Bugsy Malone, Midnight Express, Fame, The Wall. We've talked about some of his great movies. Mississippi Burning, Come See the Paradise, The Commitments. This is the first one from him that I've seen in a very long time that I can honestly say was not very good. And, I mean, really, I don't have much more to say about this one. This one's kind of a really, really bad film. It's not funny. It's not engaging. The story isn't all that good. It's just a film that has some good ideas to it, but just not good execution. It's high ambitions, didn't stick the landing. The Road to Wellville. Actually, we've been talking about a lot of those movies that have been like that recently. But let's see if we can try to turn it around with the next movie that we have here. Richard Dreyfuss starring in Silent Fall.
A shocking tragedy.
Meet the Wardens. They have an 18-year-old daughter, Sylvie, and a 9-year-old son by the name of Tim.
Just put the knife down.
Well, that's not going to work. He's autistic.
A silent witness.
Wouldn't count too much on that kid.
It's not the kid I'm counting on, Jake.
One psychiatrist must explore the darkness.
What are you seeing in there?
Primitive attempts to force or cajole him out may lead to disaster.
Unlock a secret in a child's mind.
For Tim, life is a game of solitaire. He sees lines of things. He sees patterns.
And find a killer.
Whoever did this was strong, had passion.
Before the silence falls again.
What happened in there, kid? Why didn't you get hurt?
Someone killed my parents while they were having sex.
You mean well, Jake, but you go too far.
Jake, we're in this together.
Not one single suspect.
All families have secrets.
You have to push.
She was having an affair.
Get me a murderer, Jake.
Please, just stop.
From acclaimed director Bruce Beresford
Tim.
comes a chilling story of mind over murder.
You know, I figured out something about death. It's contagious.
Richard Dreyfuss with Linda Hamilton, John Lithgow, J.T. Walsh, Liv Tyler. Silent Fall.
Well, let's put it this way: if your leading kid actor has to go and visit children with autism to really understand the kind of role he's playing, and the fact that he claimed he was unaware of what autism was prior to making the film, you probably have a major problem to work with. And yeah, this is not a very good movie. In fact, the idea of doing a psychological thriller with an autistic person is, I don't know why the 90s tried to make this work. This is the first of a couple that we had that had that same kind of concept. We had another one that came out a couple years after this with Bruce Willis, Mercury Rising, which was I remember it being a little bit better, but not by that much. I mean, it would help if this story was a little bit more interesting or exciting, but the mystery here is not all that exciting, and the mystery just really, it's like, if you really watch it closely, you could kind of figure out what the mystery is going to be and what the twist is going to be pretty quickly, and that's one of the major problems with the movie. And also, this is another one that wastes a pretty good cast. You have Dreyfuss, you have Linda Hamilton, John Lithgow, J.T. Walsh, Liv Tyler, and I don't know. It just didn't work for me. It just doesn't have a good idea to it. Like I said, I don't like the concept of bringing autism into a thriller like this, unless you've got the right mentality to do it and a good script to work off of. maybe you can make it work, but in this case, it's just kind of like, it just feels really pointless. And for Bruce Beresford, who did Driving Miss Daisy, we've talked about a couple of his other movies since then. Good Man in Africa, which was not a very good film. Yeah, this was kind of his downward spiral after this point, because I think Driving Miss Daisy was kind of his highlight, really, when I really look back at some of the movies we've looked at here. But, yeah, this movie's not very good. Bottom line, the movie's not very good, so, another swing and a miss. That was Silent Fall. Let's move on to the next movie, and that is Disney's Squanto: A Warrior's Tale.
The critics call it action-filled, a remarkable adventure. It's the true story of a proud young brave, born to be a leader. In an untamed land, the moment was his.
I spotted a tribe. Go ashore!
Until he was ripped from his world and forced into another.
You can't run away from me, Indian. I own you now. Ladies and gentlemen, Squanto the Savage! Captain the Savage!
Whoever this creature is, he needs our help.
We know he's here, Friar. Hand him over.
You risked your life for our friends, Brother Daniel.
After him, you fools!
I must do the same.
His courage made him a hero. Destiny made him a legend.
Too much blood on this land.
Squanto, a warrior's tale.
Yeah, that one didn't work either. Yeah, this was not a very good movie, and it was actually one of two Disney movies that came out in the next year that would involve Native Americans. The other one was Pocahontas, which was a little bit more a lot more successful, but yeah, this one just didn't work. It's a movie that really, I don't think they wanted to tell a true story, a true engaging story. I think they just wanted to make something to bring the kids in here. And I mean, Roger Ebert kind of said it best. This is the kind of superficial, tied up, idolized history that might appeal to younger viewers, but no thoughtful person would ever be able to take this seriously. And it's hard to take this stuff seriously, and unless you have something really good for it, unless you have a really good angle, a really good script, a really good direction. But there's none of that in here, honestly. It's just one of those movies that just really feels like, it just feels like they just forced it out there to try to get something out there that would become a hit, but it never did. And coincidentally enough, Irene Bedard, who's in this movie, would later go on to voice Pocahontas. Another interesting comparison there, but not even an interesting comparison, just that. Also, the fact that this came out on video in June of 1995, 3 days before the release of Pocahontas in theaters. So it just seems like kind of a pointless movie, honestly. Like, if there was a story to tell that was engaging or something unique, maybe, but I don't know. It just felt like something that just was just like, let's put it out there, let's make some money off of it, and it didn't really make that much money. It kind of failed miserably at the box office. So, and really, that trailer, you can kind of see why. So, wow, we're 0 for 4 right now. That's Squanto: A Warrior's Tale. I would say let's go for it. Let's see if we can get one here, but I haven't seen this next one. It's the Spike Lee presentation, Drop Squad.
We get paid to sell goods to black people, period.
By any means necessary, right?
You know, we used to march to get away from stuff like that. Ain't you all got no pride?
Times to have changed, huh?
I don't even know you anymore.
Who the hell do you think you are to pass judgment on me anyway,
I'm sick and tired of you acting like you're ashamed of us. I'm looking for someone from the Drop Squad.
Ain't they them niggas who supposedly deprogram folks? Now, what would you need with a bunch like that?
He needs to be dropped.
Yeah.
Y'all moving into position. Welcome, my brother. You are number 186.
From what I'm hearing, you guys are more into beatdowns than you are enlightened.
We do one thing. We talk to people.
This ain't the 80s, brother. It's the 90s. It's a whole lot more intense.
I love you, boo, but I needed you.
Y'all just the next phase.
Sometimes when you get over the wall,
You gotta throw a rope back.
You've had my brother for 2 weeks. That's too long.
Do you even remember those people you tried so hard to forget?
You sold us out.
To forget.
Family, right?
To forget.
Damn shame.
To forget.
Come back, brother.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't seen this one, so I can't really comment on it too much. But I mean, it's got a pretty good cast. You got ER's Eric Gonzalez in the lead in this, Fondy Curtis Hall, Ving Rhames, Casey Lemon. Spike Lee was the producer on this movie. In fact, this movie was actually seen as possibly influential on the release of Bamboozled. And coincidentally enough, the movie was dropped from theaters. It played when the movie Drop Zone was released weeks later. But yeah, Drop Zone and Drop Squad are very different movies in general. But I mean, this movie looks like it could be pretty decent. I've actually seen this DVD cover, the DVD and VHS for this, several times when I've been out to like thrift shops or like the places like CD Warehouse, Cash and Culture, those places where you go buy DVDs and VHSs for old DVDs and VHSs, and I've always seen this one there. It's just something that never really got my attention right away, but I don't know, considering that cast that they have there, I wouldn't be surprised if this actually was kind of an underrated little gem here. But, yeah, for the most part, I really don't know too much about this one, so I can't really comment on it too much. Like I said, I haven't seen it, but, like I said, it definitely has some promise to it, just from that trailer alone, so maybe one day I'll definitely check it out, but yeah, that's Drop Squad. But, let's move on to the last movie here and see if we can end the show on a much more positive note, and that is Linda Fiorentino starring in The Last Seduction.
Still a lawyer, Frank?
Yeah, still a self-serving bitch.
Friend needs advice. I'll set it up for you. Husband and wife do a one-time drug deal. Only the wife decides the new house would be happier without the husband.
Richard!
She's anxious to start spending.
The husband is entitled to half of whatever you buy with that cash.
For how long?
Well, as long as it takes to finalize the divorce. Called 3 times since he got the paperwork. Something about a loan shark in his thumb.
$100 grand that we borrowed is $150 now, and he wants it.
I'll pay off the shark. Give me a divorce, we'll be even.
You get anything? She's in cow country.
The first seduction was fast.
You have your own place?
Yes.
Do you have indoor plumbing?
Yes, I have indoor plumbing, I have electricity, and I have a name.
Names.
It was easy.
You're different than the others, Mike. I feel like, maybe I could love you.
But the last seduction
What type of list are we trying to make?
Cheating husband list.
was murder.
This guy in New York. $10 million payoff to the widow if he dies of an unnatural death. She's willing to give us a third.
You're talking about murder.
You, me, $3 million. The only loser in the whole deal is a wife-beating old bastard.
You're crazy.
I'm out of here, Mike. You have a way of making a woman feel like a one-way train ticket.
I'll do it. I'll kill the bastard.
You're up for this, right?
If you find her, I'll be glad to separate her from the cash.
She's here. She's in New York.
Let's go for a little drive. Where does this end with you?
What the hell are you doing?
Linda Fiorentino, Peter Berg, and Bill Pullman in a film by John Dahl, The Last Seduction.
And sure enough, we do end this week on a high note because The Last Seduction is a pretty damn good movie. And it's a really damn good movie because you got a really damn good performance from Linda Fiorentino. This was the movie that kind of broke her out into superstardom, got a lot of acclaim, and she's the reason why this movie works so well. I mean, she just plays this character so well. You get so invested in the way she handles the situation that she puts herself in, and you're just like, you're along for the ride. And it's amazing that that this movie did not garner a lot more attention in terms of like Oscar consideration. But it turns out it didn't get any Oscar nomination because the Academy deemed her ineligible because the film was shown on HBO before it was released to theaters, and they sued the Academy for it, but they failed to do that. And you know, it's one of those things that's kind of like, I get where they're coming from, but at the same time, you should be able to nominate a good performance for a good performance for what it is. And this performance by Linda Fiorentino is really good. I mean, she's not just playing a femme fatale; she's actually playing a very intriguing character that you get invested in. And she has all these other characters that she's working around, like Peter Berg and Bill Pullman, and they're great characters as well. This is directed by John Dahl, who did Red Rock West, which was a very underrated film that we talked about a couple years ago. Excuse me. But yeah, it's an incredible film. It's a film that doesn't get a whole lot of attention. If you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend checking it out. You will not be disappointed by it. It's a great film, great performances all around that carry it through. The Last Seduction, I can't recommend it enough. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll jump into November on the next episode with 6 movies, including Kenneth Branagh's adaptation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Kevin Costner and Elijah Wood starring in The War, the video game adaptation Double Dragon, Oleana, Pontiac Moon, and Floundering. So 6 more movies to look at on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching, I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.